All right, let's watch this. Let's see this because you know what? Like, I'm not kind of like all in on this, so we'll see.
And really, it's been an amazing period of time. This last hour, there are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that.
I don't actually know what was in the bill. Does he talk about it? Does he talk about like the actual results of it? Because I don't know the actual content.
But this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American people from getting the policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years.
There's a lot of
tied up
judges
in the court
too.
system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme
I love how he said that. Me.
Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed
Well,
with
I mean, like to be honest, the reason why he probably has more of these than anybody else, like in the, like you said, in like the past century, is because, let's be real, even in my lifetime, like even in my lifetime, like many years ago, there was like a sort of decorum, and there's sort of decorum in like politics. There were like certain things that like certain thresholds you just didn't cross, like things that you didn't do. And it was kind of like well, we can't do this because if we do this, then the other side will do it when they have power. Right. Like, for instance, like increasing the amount of Supreme Court justices, right? Because like if you did that, because you could do that, right? So if somebody goes, oh, we're going to make like another slot for the Supreme Court so that we can like put a person in there and like disrupt the balance of the court, then the next person who gets into office elects 5, increases it by 5 and adds 5. And then the next person adds 10. And soon you have like 1,000 people on the Supreme Court, right? So there are just certain rules that are in place that they have sort of rules of decorum, right? And in recent times, we have really broken this, and kind of politics has broken down and gotten a lot more crazy. Rodin RB, thank you so much for this. Like, for instance, kind of the rhetoric that some politicians use, like, oh, like you need to like go out there and like you need to go out there and like, harass them. Like, that wasn't really like, people before would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right. But like now that's common. Right. So it's kind of, the rules of engagement have changed because people have stepped the line, right? So naturally, and I think like there's a really good example of this. And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to think the exact scenario, but not too long ago, Turtle Man, God, what was his name again? I just call him Turtle Man. The old turtle guy that was like in, the old turtle guy, McConnell, yeah, old turtle guy. Yeah, he basically said, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be mixing up like my people, but like this actually did happen, where something occurred. I think it was with, it might have, what exactly, I'm trying to remember. There was a case basically where the Democrats got into power and they changed the rule, and McConnell basically said, "You guys are gonna fucking regret this. Like you guys shouldn't do this, and if you do it, you will regret it." And they fucking did it anyway. And then immediately after, they used the same rule to fuck with them. So like this is kind of what I mean is the rules basically of engagement get escalated like every time. So what happens is you escalate the rules, and then we escalate the rules, and then you escalate the rules, and now there's like, it's kind of a free for all, right? Yeah, a filibuster. Is it filibuster that it happened? It was a filibuster, yeah. Yeah, the filibuster is kind of like it was I know it was kind of like a baka tactic, but then it also made it a lot harder for them. It was basically, the filibuster was a power, a power of the minority. It was a power that the minority could use, a tool that the minority could use, and basically they removed it to basically strip power from the Republicans at the time, to be like, well, we're gonna remove that ability. So haha. And then he basically said like, well, next time, like, you're not going to be able to use it, so you'll see. And then it literally like happened like right after.
Numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, and some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country.
Yeah, so as far as I understand the reason for it, and I don't really have, I'm not really too studied in this, so I'm well aware of my weakness in this historical context of this. But what I've read and what I've seen in videos is that the reason for it was, there were cases where slaves were born in America because they're slaves. Their families have been in America, right? Because they're like generational slaves, right? And at that point, like, they're not under the jurisdiction of any country because they were born as slaves in America. So the whole idea of it was, well, if you were a slave, then you are American. So it's not like you can be deported to Africa where you've never been. Does that make sense? It's basically because nobody would claim you, right? So it's like, for instance, like if you had, let's just use let's use China for example, right? If you come to America from China, and then you have you have birth in America, right? Your kid would still be Chinese, right? Like, they still have a country to go to, whereas these slaves did not. That's kind of like the reason behind it, as far as I know.
This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so up.
But whether or not you agree with, the application of it, you have to admit that people are using this and abusing the system, right? And to give you an example, there's a phenomenon of birth tourism, which what will happen is people from other countries will specifically go to America to have their kids in America. They'll go on vacation in America on a visa, and they'll do it so that they can have their kid in America. So their kid will have the citizenship in America, so that when they go back to whatever country they came from, their kid maintains a U.S. citizenship. Does that make sense? So their kid has the option in the future of going to America despite having nothing to do with America. So an example would be like, you could have a kid from, let's just like use India for an instance, or it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'll use Japan. Like, you have a kid from Japan who comes to America on a, their parents come over on like a vacation. They go to like Disneyland. They have the kid in America, and then the kid's born in America, has a U.S. citizenship. They go to Japan, and the kid can grow up in Japan like all of their life, and then decide like at one point like, oh, I want to go to America, but then they have nothing to do with America, even though they're and this brings in like a ton of issues of like culture and loyalty. So honestly, like, Japan's kind of a bad example, because Japan has like, at least there's somewhat like culturally and economically like more in common, more allies. So like, let's just use like I don't know, what's a good one? I don't know. Let's just go crazy. Let's just use like North Korea for instance, right? And obviously this would never happen, but like you or I guess China could be a good one, right? Where like you're kind of like you're from China, you love China, you're like pro CCP, you're you're pro like Chinese like flavored communism, like whatever you want to call it, right? And then you come to America later, like when you're older, and you're like, well, I'm American, guys. Remember me? Like I'm back and I'm American, right? And it's like what? So like that person gets to vote and that person's an American citizen. It doesn't make any sense. It's obviously like a loophole, right? So like there's clearly a problem. So like the idea that we shouldn't fix this loophole is actually retarded, in my opinion. It doesn't make it. It's very obviously being used not in its intended like it's not in its intended way.
Obvious, but this lets us go there and finally win that case because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
Actually, I just changed my mind. I literally changed my mind mid-video. I was like thinking about it because I know at the beginning I said something along the lines of, well, if you're like on a green card, if you're on a green card and then you have kids in America, like you're a legal worker in America, that your kids should be automatically citizens. I actually don't know if that should be the case. However, if your kid grew up in America, I think we should give those kids priority in line for the citizenship process. I think that's a better compromise. Because if the kid so if your parents are legal, like they're legal workers, like legal, like valid green card holders, they live in America, they pay their taxes, and they're just on a green card, but then they're living here legally. They went through the full legal process to like live here and work here. And then you have a kid here, your kid I feel like your kid would be raised here and would probably be having they would at least grow up here and they would kind of be around like American things. So I think you could make an argument that we should maybe, I don't know about like instant citizenship, but I think you can make an argument for fast tracking their ability to be a citizen. What do you guys think of that? I think that's a good compromise because I think those people are more likely to be assimilated into like an American culture because like they've lived here all their lives since they're young. So I think while I don't agree with them being immediately granted automatic citizenship, I think that they should basically have a priority queue to be processed into like actually getting an American citizenship if they've lived here the whole time and they can prove that they're culturally loyal to America. Yeah. I think that's a good compromise. All right.
We have so many of them.
I do change my mind. I do change my mind, chat. See, I do. I just have to think about it. And I can change my mind.
I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she can talk as long as she wants because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. And they should be.
Falcon says, what do you think about getting rid of dual citizenship? I agree. I don't think you should be able to have dual citizenship. A hot take. I think like I think if you're an American citizen, you should be loyal to America. I don't want any like fucking I don't want any like I don't know what to do, guys. Like my country's in war with America. I don't know which side I want to be on. I don't want any of that shit. Fuck no.
Very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible attorney general. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and others.
and Empa Dynamite says, leave our flip-flopper. I just thought about it. Like, I just like thought about it for, it's kind of weird because like I'll be watching a video and like my mind will just be spinning, like thinking about like how I feel about the whole thing. And my mind just like went to a place where I was like thinking about it, and then that's kind of like why I changed my mind there, because like I made some realizations, some connections in my brain like connected.
cases, and I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Atok says I'm one example. My parents came from Mexico. I was born in USA. Lived most of my younghood living on the border state on the Mexico side. Because of necessity, I went to USA to continue my high school studies, but I did not reject the USA culture, norms, and customs. My mother also became a citizen. She had to work hard to be a citizen. Is it really that unusual for people who are born in USA but grew up somewhere else, just don't care for their... Is it really unusual for people who are born in USA but grew up somewhere else, just don't care about for their nationality? I'm not saying you can't... Okay, hold on. So I'm not saying that you can't care about your nationality and like, you know, your heritage. Like I definitely think I definitely think your heritage is something that you should be able to be proud of, and you should like it as well. But you know, that your heritage is one thing, and like where you live now is another thing. Like, I think when it comes down to it, the place you live and the community that you live with should be the utmost importance, I believe. Than the people who are only binded by like appearance. I would say blood, but like there's family as well, right? But it's kind of like I guess you could say like blood in that way, right? Like I I feel like I feel like that's more important. Who you live with now, like what your community is, those things should matter more than somebody who looks like you on the other side of the world, right? Embrace heritage, adopt nationality. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Cleric, I agree with that.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice...
Sorry, I just want to clarify a thing. One thing that happens a lot too is, and this is the part I don't agree with, is culture. I think culture is another separate part of that, and sometimes people refuse to actually take part in American culture itself. They like kind of reject American culture because they think like, oh, well, you know, my ethnicity is this, so that should be my culture. I don't think that's how you should think of things. Listening, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you. If you're American, just be American. If you came from Mexico, celebrate Mexico, and make sure that celebrate Mexico, but make sure you stay as an American. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can still celebrate those things about, you know, your heritage, but you have to be a part of like what your neighbors are a part of. Otherwise, what keeps you together? Nothing, basically. And that's kind of like the problem that you're seeing in America right now, is that the things that held us together, the fabric of society, has just been fraying slowly, where I have less and less and less and less in common with the person next to me. And it's like, why are we even together? Like, why are we even a thing if we have nothing in common? Literally nothing in common. Like, if you hate America, you know, you fly the Mexican flag, I have nothing to do with you. So why are we trying to have a country together? It doesn't make any sense.
Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Mm-hmm. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts and 35 out
That's fucking tyranny, bro. The hell?
of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies from tariffs to
This
military
is
readiness
democracy
to immigration to foreign affairs,
manifest.
fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks 2,711 arrests on.
Ragnar says, are you saying I can't freeload in your country, flying my colors and living off your taxes? Seems pretty phobic and is to me. True, true. Leaflit, literally fascist. True.
These terrorists and these gangs.
The funny thing is, guys, is like usually the people that say that, usually the people that say that I'm fascist are actually the most fascist people. It's kind of crazy. It keeps happening, man. Like, it keeps happening where I'll see, like, there are people that'll be like, there will be people that are like, wow, Leaflit is like the worst. Like, she's like so like phobic, blah, 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 like so racist. And then like, they're actually the ones who are like saying like racist and racist. They're the ones that are like throwing the slurs around. It happens every time, guys. Every single time. Wow, Leaflet's so like like so intolerant. What an intolerant person says vile things, and meanwhile they're throwing slurs like back and forth. It's so crazy. Every single time, man. Every single time.
Total arrest today with HSI investigations, and thank you, Stephen.
Hold on.
Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels. No longer. No longer. We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington, you and your staff.
You should roll back a few seconds because parts of this, her speech got cut off by your transition.
Okay. I backed up by like 40 seconds. My mom told me to roll it back a bit.
Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels. No longer. No longer. These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan problem that has lasted 5 presidential terms, 5 different presidents, and it has ended today. We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington. You and your staff have been incredible. Our Solicitor General's office, John Sauer, Sarah Harris, and Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey. Todd's going to say a few words because we've had another major ruling today on transgender books and some other great wins that we've had.
Oh shit, what happened with
No
transgender
longer
books?
will they have this power in our country. It is the president's
Wait, what happened?
authority under his executive branch.
What happened? But Gabagool on Twitch, thank you so much for the bits. Thank you for 200 bits. They removed the short. What? They removed the short act from the bill? That's the only one I really cared about. Wait, seriously? Like it's over? Wait, they removed the Hearing Protection Act as well? Wait, why did they allow this? What's the short act? The short act basically, okay. I'm gonna explain this bullshit to you, okay, guys? I'm gonna explain it to you because this thing really fucking pisses me off. I'm gonna explain it to you, alright? So, I need to eat a gummy bear because I'm fucking mad. Fucking rhinos are useless, bro. I don't want it anymore. I don't want the big beautiful bill anymore. Fucking. Okay. So, I'm gonna explain this for people that aren't really like in the know of this. This one actually like personally affects me, so I'm like really fucking pissed about it. But okay, there is this thing called the NFA. And what it does is it makes it so certain firearms are illegal unless you pay them money. It's like super fucking bullshit. So here's how it works. If you want a suppressor or a short barreled rifle, which is just like a rifle under like whatever the fuck, like size that they want, right? If you want a short barreled rifle, you have to pay them $200 per item and wait for them to fucking approve it. And it takes freaking forever. So what does this do? This fucks over anybody in which a short barreled rifle would be better for them to wield. Like short people. And it also affects people that want a suppressor. And by the way, suppressors, they do not go like, pew, 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 pew. This isn't like John Wick, right? They don't do that. They basically make it so it's like it protects your hearing so it doesn't blow out your eardrums. That's what suppressors do. So it's basically like if you put a suppressor in like a home gun, it makes it so it suppresses the sound of the gun enough to not blow up your eardrums and give you tinnitus. That's basically what it is. So like say like you're at home, right? And then someone intrudes on your house, you don't really have time to like put on your gear and your freaking hearing protection, right? So like you might have to just like pull your gun up and use it right away. And again, it's not illegal. It's just taxed. So imagine if you're a poor person, right? Say you're like you're a poor person living, you know, you're just a poor person, right? You're living in like, I don't know, you're living in a trailer park or something, right? And you want to like, you need to protect yourself with a gun. You can't have a suppressor because it costs $200 extra. So $200 does not affect rich people because they can pay it. Rich people can pay the $200 for the SBRs, for the suppressors. They can all pay it. They don't give a shit. $200 is not that much money. $200 is a lot of money to middle class and lower class people. Those are people so basically effectively having a flat like $200 tax makes it so you're basically a second class citizen as far as gun ownership if you're poor because you can't afford to pay like the freaking $200 tax. Let's be real, 200 is not a little, it's not a small amount of money. 200 is a lot. And you have to do that for each one that you want. If you want to have 2 rifles, $400. You want to put suppressors on that? Another $400. So it's like $800 in taxes. And then you have to submit it to them. And then they'll get to it whenever they feel like it in order to like let you even purchase it. And then so you're waiting now like several months in order to like actually get the thing that you want to purchase. So do you see what I mean? It's fucking bullshit. And they were going to remove it. And you're telling me they took it out? You see why I'm mad, right? You see why I'm mad? Like this is like, you know, for all of the bullshitting about, oh, we care so much, guys. We care so much about poor people and like the impoverished people. And the impoverished people should have just as many rights as rich people. These same fuckers are the ones saying no to this.
Do everything to fight for the American people, and he will continue to do that. That's why he was overwhelmingly elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, today's a great day for the rule of law. It's a great day for the Justice Department, and it's one that's been a long time coming.
So what happened was, okay, so they approved the Hearing Protection Act. So the Hearing Protection Act is for suppressors. That got approved. It went to the Senate. And then the Senate, and then they added the Short Act to it. And so then you're telling me the Short Act got added to it, and then they removed both at the very end? The Dem rule maker said it's not part of the budget or whatever. Yeah, so you mean a tax? Okay, so according to his logic, a tax has nothing to do with their budget? That a tax law has nothing to do with taxes? That's crazy. You're telling me a tax has nothing to do with tax law? Man. These people are fucking crazy. Guys, these Republicans are fucking useless. They're fucking useless. Like, I hate them, dude. I hate the Republicans so much. They're so bad. Can you guys tell I'm, like, really triggered by this? I'm, like, actually so mad. Like, I'm so angry. It's so tiring, chat. It's so tiring, man. Like, it's... How they let this happen? Is there a chance for them to fix it? Can they like Can they change it when they, because it has to go back to the House, right? Can the House be like, nah, it's fucking, these fucking pussy ass Republicans. I told you guys the Republicans fucking suck. You know, people telling me that I like Republicans, I'm like such a Republican shill. Dude, I hate them. They suck. They never do anything.
And one that every American should have been waiting for with bated breath. And so I echo what the president said and Attorney General Bondi, that the Supreme Court did a great thing today, not only for this administration, but for every American in this country. If not for the injunctions case, we would be here talking about another great decision that came down today, the trans books case, which restored.
My mom says it was a Democrat that took it out. It doesn't matter because the Republicans let them do it. So it doesn't even matter. Like, even if you want to argue that like it was a Democrat that did it, the Republicans let them do it. So it doesn't fucking matter. It's the same thing. Like letting them do it is the same thing as approving of it yourself, in my opinion.
Restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight, and we thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct.
Yeah, the big beautiful bill is now fat, ugly bullshit. True. So true.
Correct. And so we thank the Supreme Court for that. There's been multiple decisions over the past several weeks.
Man, so hold on. You're telling me, chat, that they're going to spend all of this money again. They're going to like increase the budget. They're going to spend all this fucking money again on bullshit. We're going to pay for it. And they didn't even give me my SBRs back. I'm not a big fan of the government.
It just show why this nationwide injunction ban had to happen. For example, what I mean by that is local district court judges issuing decisions that are clearly contrary to law just because they don't like the policy of President Trump. And when it gets to the Supreme Court has to correct it. But that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals, emergency stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view. And so their hard work is really paying off today, but over the past few weeks. We had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country.
Wait, please watch the video on it. I'm not understanding what happened. Says Cyclops Ninja. Okay, so there's something else going on. Right, Cyclops Ninja? Wait, am I misunderstanding what's going on? Am I getting baited? Did I fall for it again? Did I get one guide? Okay. We were trying to tell you, Leaflit, but you're so angry. Yeah, because if they take it out, I will be very angry. It is like one of the things I was like the most excited about.
Stay of an order that stopped.
Okay, we're gonna watch a. Okay, how about this? We're gonna watch a video about it like right after this, and then I'll rage out if it's bad.
Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed.
Colin Noir. Okay, Colin Noir has a video on it. Okay, we'll watch that right after this. If you have time, Julio or Mommy, can you grab me the Colin Noir video on it after this? Thank you.
An order forcing reinstatement of fired executive branch employees entirely within the president and Article 2.
I love Colin Noir.
We had a stay of, as you all know, of numerous Doge cases. And again,
he's kind of hot. Don't tell him.
Every one
Don't
of
tell
those
him I said that.
Stays requires a tremendous amount of work and effort by the lawyers and parties involved, and they should be doing other work. They should be doing the work that the president and this administration demands and has a right to demand, and not fighting these local.
Oh, he's married? Okay, not hot then. Not hot.
Don't make decisions based on the law. They make decisions because they just simply don't agree with the administration's decision about a policy, and that's wrong. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, for Pam, please.
Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Attorney General. So as you know, the Supreme Court did not rule on the underlying constitutionality of the President's Birthright Citizenship order. So what is the plan now? Are you going to try to implement the EO just in states where there isn't a legal?
Yes, so birthright citizenship will be decided in October in the next session by the Supreme Court, unless it.
Wait, it's not even done yet?
It comes down in the next few minutes. I guess it could come down. I think they're still deliberating right now on some cases. As you heard, we just got
I better have gotten one guide. And I'm still getting my SBRs. Because if you're telling me that I didn't even get the good things, what are they even doing?
Gender books, which is a huge win, but most likely that will be decided in October in the next session. However, it indirectly impacts us because, as you correctly pointed out, if there's a birthright citizenship case in Oregon, it will only affect the plaintiff in Oregon, not the
By the way, I know that they're different. I'm just saying, like, in general, like the things I want in general.
entire country. So yes, it's indirectly, but that's pending litigation, and we're waiting on that in the next term.
And how concerned are you that the Supreme Court will come back and determine that the executive order is unconstitutional?
Oh, we're very confident in the Supreme Court. But again, it's pending litigation, and that will directly be determined in October, but it indirectly impacts every case in this country, and we're thrilled with their decision today. Peter.
Madam Attorney General, thank you for being here to take our questions. A couple questions to the both of you. The EO had a 30-day grace period before it goes into effect. Is there any thought?
I'm not gonna lie. I heard SBR. I heard the Hearing Protection Act and Short Act being taken out, and I immediately, like, my brain just like exploded, and like I couldn't think about anything anymore after that point, except for like so everything that was like said previously is like no longer in my brain.
About trying to make it effective immediately within that period of time.
I got full tilted. That's right. I got full tilted.
We're going to make those decisions, and we're going to do what's right in the bounds of the law.
And then the DOJ didn't ask the justices to rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship ban. Just for explanation purposes, why?
Sure, because that's going to come down in October in the separate.
I see what you're saying. They basically cleared the first barrier, and then they're gonna hit the actual thing later. Got
This
it.
was huge because it's
hold on now.
indirectly impacted today. As I said, it's now case by case. Let me reiterate, of the 35 of the 40 nationwide injunctions filed against this president, against his executive authority as president of the United States, 35 of them came from Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, California, Washington. I mean, that's crazy.
Those freaking all-stars, man. freaking leftist all-stars right there.
These 5 districts. So yes, it indirectly impacts us. It will be a separate decision in October. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. President. A question for you, sir. Do you believe this ends the power of the lower court judges to stop your agenda? Do you see this as a full green light for your agenda going forward?
Well, you'd have to really speak to the lawyers about that. But this is really also a decision based on common sense. It didn't work the other way. It was a disaster where somebody from a certain location in a very liberal state, or a liberal judge, or a liberal group of judges could tie up a whole country for years, because their decision would sometimes take years to overturn. We've overturned many of the decisions.
By the way, California does this all the time, where there will be a thing that's like actually unconstitutional, literally like rules as written. It's unconstitutional. And then a judge will be like, in California, a judge in California will be like, this is unconstitutional. And then California will freaking will dispute it like all the way up, and they'll take their fucking time doing it. Oh yeah, I need a little bit more time. Oh, I need a little bit more time. Like, need more time. They'll do this like forever, basically forever and ever and ever and ever, like all the way until like, and then they'll stop like right before the Supreme Court because they don't want to collateral like the other states. Yeah, Saint Benitez, I know. God bless that man, Saint Benitez.
To do it, and we have to act quickly when it comes to.
Dude, Saint Benitez gave me like that week. Yo, chat. How many of you guys got to partake in Freedom Week? What a beautiful week that was, wasn't it? Wasn't that beautiful? That was the greatest thing ever. Holy crap! I remember that. It was so nice. Okay, what was Freedom Week? So like in so what's Freedom Week? So in California, it was illegal. It was illegal to have magazines like gun magazines over 10 rounds. Was illegal. I mean, it's against the law in California. Saint Benitez was a judge who basically said that's unconstitutional. because most rifles have 30-round magazines, and they come with 30-round magazines. Therefore, the 30-round magazine is, it's like a normal firearm that you would use. Therefore, it is unconstitutional. So what he did was he openly struck it down, the law, which meant that for 1 week, so later on, like, they disputed it, but for 1 week, everyone in California could buy 30-round magazines. So like everyone in California could buy unlimited, like unlimited capacity magazines. So basically everyone bought up all of the 30-round magazines. All of the gun stores were like freaking celebrating. They had fucking giant boxes in the front of the store with just magazines, and everybody was buying up magazines. Like, I bought a lot of magazines during that time. And so what happened was, after a week, they said, okay, like, you know what? California's disputing this. We're going to put a stay on it. And so basically, Benitez was like, okay, well, fair enough. But, people already bought magazines, so you can't just take it away from them, because that's unfair. They already bought the magazines while they were legal. So everyone gets to keep it. So, like, everybody in California got to keep their, like, magazines from Freedom Week. So that's why, like, they were like the Freedom magazines. It was a beautiful week, I'll say. It was beautiful. Everything was sold out, though. It was really hard to get magazines.
Legal immigration. We have murderers, killers. We have drug dealers. We have what they've allowed to come into our country. Should never be forgotten. It should never be forgotten what they've done to our country. And we have to be able to act very quickly, and we're going to do that. Thank you.
Just as Amy Coney Barrett, sir, I know that you praised her and her opinion here in this case. She has taken some heat, though, from some of your supporters who have labeled her weak, a squishy, a rattled law professor. What is your take on that?
I don't know about that. I just have great respect for her. I always have. And her decision was brilliantly written today, from all accounts. Yeah.
Transgender rulings, Mr. President. What would you say to Americans who fear that this is more and more concentration of power in the White House and the executive?
Well, this really brings back the Constitution. This is what it's all about. And this is really the opposite of that. I mean, the question is fine, but it's the opposite. The Constitution has been brought back.
Yeah, bring it back.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Illegal crossings in the border are 0 now.
0. Does everyone hear that? 0.
What?
Trump 2028.
No. Do you intend?
No, he said it's 0. Impossible. Is that real? 0. Nah, that's crazy. I don't know, man. It seems kind of. Dude, I want to believe, but that sounds really, really crazy.
President Trump, illegal crossings in the border are 0 now.
0. Does everyone hear that? 0. Trump 2028.
Do you intend, President Trump?
I like him. He's working the cameras.
Honestly, I love this. I love how Trump is like this. I know, like, some people don't like it, but I love how casual he is like this. It's great.
Reality, President Trump, in the border, do you intend to engage personally with leaders from South America, not only Central America,
Sure.
in order to
I
tackle
do that anyway.
this situation in
I
a
do that
different
anyway.
way, and if you have a perspective of meeting some
Sure.
presidents from South America, as Brazil, for example?
Well, you should, as an example, not South America, but NATO over the weekend.
Yeah.
They have great respect for our country now. They did things that nobody thought was possible. They took funding from 2% to 5%. Nobody thought they'd ever pay the 2%, and now they're paying the 5%. It's over $1 trillion more a year. Think of that, $1 trillion. Nobody thought that could happen. That's a different group of people, different countries. Yeah, but we get along with a lot of countries. We are respected again. Our country, the U.S., is respected again. Was not respected 6 months ago. I can tell you.
Can we ask about the big beautiful?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, you have a deadline coming up on trade in 2 weeks. Which countries, if
On what?
any, on trade, on tariffs,
Yeah.
sir? Which countries, if any, are close to agreements with the administration?
Well, that's an interesting question. We've
Okay.
made a deal with China. We've made a deal with probably 4 or 5 different countries. With the UK, it was a great deal for both. and we're in the process of making some others. But ultimately, in fact, Scott is here, and Howard Lutnick, these two guys have been doing an incredible job, and the people that work with them have been doing an incredible job. But, you know, we have 200 countries, you could say 200 countries plus. We can't do that. So at a certain point over the next week and a half or so, or maybe before, we're going to send out a letter. We talked to many of the countries, and we're just going to tell them what they have to pay to do business in the United States. And it's going to go very quickly. But some of the bigger countries, so India, I think we're going to reach a deal where we have the right to go in and trade. Right now it's restricted. You can't walk in there. You can't even think about it. We're looking to get a full trade barrier dropping, which is unthinkable. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But as of this moment, we've agreed to that, go into Indian trade. We're going to be trading in China. That's going to come a little bit down the road, but we're going to be trading in China. We have a lot of great things going, and we're getting along with countries, but some will be disappointed because they're going to have to pay tariffs. And we've taken in already hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. No inflation. The only problem we have is we have a Fed guy that doesn't understand.
Yeah, like, isn't it like here's like the weird thing. Like, I said this before, but like I don't understand like the whole hate on like Trump tariffs, because wasn't Trump's entire thing was like we'll tariff you the amount that you tariff us? It's like, what is everyone talking about then? Like, if a country is like tariffing us and then Trump tariffs them back, and he says like, if you make your tariffs like low, we'll make our tariffs low, and it's like equivalent or like reciprocal. Why is that not fair? Or why is that bad? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so like in general, like here's my take on tariffs, guys. In general, I'm against tariffs in general. I don't think that I don't like taxes, basically. I don't like more taxes on like, you know, on the American citizen. That's what tariffs are, basically. But I do realize that there are important reasons to keep some kinds of manufacturing like active within America. In the case that we basically get shut out by another country or there's a war, we have to be able to manufacture things that are of importance. And I do see like the purpose of tariffs in that as well. But yeah, it's used as a bargaining chip. I mean, the thing is like people saying that like I remember like back in the day, like people like when this whole tariff thing started, people were saying that America was bullying other countries with tariffs. But it was like, bro, like, aren't you tariffing us too? Like, what the fuck?
Understand what's happening, and it would be great if he'd lower the rate because we'd be able to borrow a lot cheaper.
I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was like the most ridiculous shit. It was like Trump was like, "Listen, we'll tariff you the same amount you tariff us." And like, oh my god, like bullying.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Why don't we keep it on this subject? This is such a big subject. You know what? Trade is so big, but this, I don't know, in a certain way, this might be bigger than trade. I think this is bigger than trade. Yes, please, go ahead.
I was wondering, though, if you could...
Go ahead.
Sir, on the transgender ruling, the Supreme Court ruling that parents with religious objections can pull their kids out of public school lessons that use LGBTQ materials. Pam brought it up. Your reaction to that ruling today, sir?
I think the ruling was a great ruling, and I think it's a great ruling for parents. It's really a ruling for parents. They lost control of the schools. They lost control of their child.
I think it's fair.
This is a
okay. So on this thing. So apparently, what happened was there was a ruling that they could, like, there was an opt-in for parents to like say, I don't want my kid to be like to have access to like LGBT like centric materials or whatever like that, like whatever that means, like curriculum, and like I think it's pretty fair. And the reason, so there's only like one argument I can think of. So like just trying to think of this like as a whole, there's one argument I could see against this, and that argument would be that school is meant to prepare kids for life and reality, and that gay people and trans people do exist. They exist they exist, right? So it's like you have to like tell kids that like that's a thing that they might have to face in the future, like so they're not confused like when they actually like see like that kind of a thing happening. But again, that is weighed against, right? So that whole thing of like, well, kids should be prepared for society, that should be weighed against parental rights, right? And like parents should be able to have the final say in like what their children are exposed to, in my opinion. I think the better way to go about this, to be honest, and this is gonna sound kind of this is gonna, I know people might disagree with me on this. I actually don't think this is the right way to do it. I think the better way to do it is school vouchers. I think the best way to do it is to give parents the choice of like where to send their kids to school, and to like add some more competition into like schooling. So if a parent like was opposed to like that kind of schooling, they could send their kid, for instance, to like a they could send their kid to like, I don't know, like a Catholic Christian school, and they could do that with their money that would have been going to that's still going to go out of their taxes like to the school. They could use that money to like, you know, fund like their kids in an education that they more agree with. I think that would have been a preferable way to do this, I think.
Tremendous victory for parents, and I'm not surprised by it, but I am surprised that it went this far. It took us to bring life back to normal, so it's wonderful. It's parental, and I kept saying, we will give you back your parental rights. They were taken away, and this is a tremendous victory for parents. Yeah.
Mr. President, if you look at the back at the last week, it's been extraordinary in terms of the action in the Middle East. You were at The Hague. I'm wondering,
I think it is a valid argument that, like, you know, when that you have to prepare kids for life, and in life, like, you will be faced with these things, right? I think that's fair. It's a fair argument from the other side. I'm trying to understand like both sides of the argument, but I think for me at least, it's trumped by parental rights. I don't think that that teachers should be able to keep like your kid hostage, and again, I think the best way, not hostage, that's a bad way to say it. What I'm trying to say is they shouldn't be able to like be the ones that control, like if a parent is against like a certain thing, they should be able to like opt their kid out of it without having their kid face any sort of like penalties around it, right? Aren't most blue places against school choices? Yes, they are. They are against it. But see, I think like all of this can be solved by having school choice, because like again, you can I think it solves a lot of problems like school choice, because not only does it create like more competition in schooling, it makes it, you know, which is, you know, more competition is going to like lead to like higher quality schooling, right? Because like the best schools are the ones that are going to get money, right? But this way parents can opt into like the type of education that they want to give their kids, whatever that is, right? Whether that's like, you know, not even just like morally, like if you wanted to give them like a religious like education, like a, you know, Christian or Catholic school, but like if you wanted to send your kid to like a school, for instance, that was like more technology focused, right? Like there's multiple benefits to this, I think, and it would solve this problem. This wouldn't even be a problem with that in effect. My problem is teachers basically being able to say like being able to have more control of people's children than them. Parents should have the highest control of their children, I think, in terms of well, hold on, wait, I have to think about this. Parents should have the highest control of their children in terms of ideology and like raising style. Obviously, there are illegal things that like people could do in which the state would have to like, you know, step in, you know, obviously like cases of abuse and stuff like that. Like those are outliers to like the situation. I just wanted to make sure that like that was addressed, right?
Week, hasn't it?
I'm wondering now if you believe that Iran. I'm wondering now, sir, if you believe that Iran has given up its long history of.
I don't want people saying like Leaflit says abusive parents that physically and sexually abuse their children, like they should be in charge of their kids. I'm not saying that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Because people will use anything against me, guys. They will.
Ambitions with nuclear weapons, or what you would like to see from them to prove that they do, and what type of meetings is your administration looking for next week with Iran?
So Iran wants to meet. As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were, now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while. The same people that covered the Hunter Biden laptop was from Russia. The same people that did 3 or 4 other Russia hoax.
I saw it.
No, wait, just listen. They came up with something that delayed the credit that.
Wait, is there another list? Arrow says you were on the list. Did you see it? Is it the same list? Is it the Blue Sky list? Or is there like a new one? Is there a new list? Is it the same list?
Great pilots and these great America. I mean, what talent that was, and they hit it right down in the
Thanks
spot.
for the follow. Thank you.
52,000 feet. Think of this dark, no moon. You couldn't see a thing, and they hit the refrigerator door, as they say. That's the size of a target, and overwhelmingly. And it's amazing what was done. We're the only ones that could have done it, and we took out the other, 2 of the other sites also. In addition to that, we finished them off. That was a very evil intention. I believe that, and again, time will tell, but I don't believe that they're going to go back into nuclear anytime soon. They spent over $1 trillion on nuclear, and they never got it together. And nothing was moved from the site, by the way. To do that is very dangerous. It's very, very heavy material. Those cars were most likely the cars of Masons because they were pouring concrete at the top, at the hatch, as you know, the hatch going into the nuclear site. They wanted to reinforce it, and they had some Masons there pouring concrete. By the way, that concrete was...
This stuff is like kind of hard to know because I feel like if they fucked up, they wouldn't tell us. So that's the problem with this whole if they hit the nuclear sites or not, because there's like reports that like they already moved the uranium out. There's reports that they missed completely. It's hard to tell like what's real or what's not here, because even if the nuclear stuff got taken out, it's in Iran's best interest to say it didn't. And even if Trump's campaign missed and wasn't effective, it's in their best interest to say that it was. So like either way, there's a propaganda angle, and it's kind of hard to tell what's the truth here.
Obliterated. It hit exactly at the concrete. It was, I don't think it had a chance to dry. But everything's down there. It's under millions of tons of rock. Please. Yes.
Your administration has said that El Salvador is one of the safest countries in the hemisphere. So why haven't you yet canceled temporary protected status for that country? Was it part of the deal?
Well, we'll take a look. We've had a great relationship with El Salvador. They have a fantastic leader. They built a massive prison system. And I don't know exactly why, but it's a hell of a system. And we bring people there, and when they go there, they don't get out. And frankly, when they hear they have to go there, they become very nice people. They become very nice people. It's a tough system, but it's a brilliant system, and it's a system.
It kind of reminds you of like that Philippines jail where like the newbies get in there, and then like the people who have been at the jail for a long time are like, don't fuck around. You fuck around, you're gonna find out. And then like there's just like order because of it.
I'm done by a very, very good leader.
Do you know what bothers me about this? All the adults that do not know how to just raise their hands to be picked to ask a question. Like, why are they even on this chat?
We'll talk about El Salvador. A lot of respect. Yeah, please.
Because they're trying to get noticed, so they're just screaming.
It's a brilliant system, and it's a system done by a very, very good leader. We'll talk about El Salvador. A lot of respect. Yeah, please.
Thank you. A question for you, and then a question for the Attorney General. As you go into negotiations and talks with Iran, are you demanding not only that there would be no uranium production inside of Iran, but also that Iran would turn over all existing stockpiles of uranium?
Well, you know, we're a little early for that, but something like that, yeah, we'll do something like that. Let me say that I've been saying for 25 years, even as a civilian, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon, and that's what happened. It's been obliterated. It would be years before they could ever get going, and I really think it's probably the last thing. They have to recover from a hell of a tough war.
Would you also be demanding that the IAEA have full rights to inspect in Iran?
Or somebody, yeah, or somebody that we respect,
And then-
including ourselves.
And a question for both the President and the Attorney General. Under birthright citizenship, if this is implemented, who would be tasked with actually vetting citizenship? And how, like, would this be a situation where you have nurses and doctors checking for citizenship of parents, or?
This is all pending litigation. It's going to be decided in October.
It's a good question.
By the Supreme Court, and we'll discuss that after the litigation.
If you have an undocumented baby, would that baby then be an enforcement priority?
The violent criminals in our country are the priority now. Let me put it in perspective.
Okay.
Today marked the 2,711.
They're not answering the question, kind of. Not really. Well, I mean, the question, honestly, the question was kind of bad because the question allowed this escape. He should have asked a better question. Should have been prepared.
11th arrest in our country of TDA members, just TDA. Everyone in this room.
No, it wasn't a bait question. It's a valid question to be like, if you have this, like, are you going to prioritize, like, are these people going to be like on the priority? Or what he should have asked instead is like, will you be looking into like, I guess, when would you be looking into it, or under what criteria would you look into it for like people that were born here that their citizenship of their parents is like kind of in question. I think something like that would have been better. Him asking the question the way he did basically allowed her to deflect it like this and say like, what are you talking about? We're going after, like, basically to answer his question without answering the actual thing that he was trying to ask. Does that make sense?
Agrees. They are one of the most violent criminal organizations.
Now she can flip it and be like, well, no, we're going after the most dangerous criminal people. So what are you talking about? Right? Basically.
Organizations in the world. And the Biden administration let them walk into our country for the last 4 years.
You disagree that it's the fight? You know, that's fair. That's fair, Mundane Lane, that you disagree it's a deflection. Hold on, let me think about it. I mean, it kind of is a deflection, but it was like kind of the dude's fault. Because he kind of allowed her to attack his argument in this way. It's kind of like my point. Is she's not answering the question that he was trying to ask. Like, obviously, like, if you think about the intent of his question, the intent of his question was not really about this. Right? It was, I assume he's asking about, under what criteria are they going to, like, actually go after people? Or I might be like actually giving him too much credit. That is a possibility. That he's basically trying to find out like under what criteria that they are gonna go after people. But him asking it like, are you gonna make it a priority? That's like obviously not, because why would you even ask that? That's kind of like why my head is stuck right now. I'm like, why the fuck would you even ask that question? Because it's already obvious what their priority is. So what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, it's a bad question, basically. He wasted his question.
711 of them today have been arrested.
Sorry, my point is he wasted his question and allowed her to answer it in this way, which is extremely favorable for her. This like line of questioning allowed her to basically take a stance that almost everyone agrees with.
In our country. That is the priority of Donald Trump. That is the priority of this country, of Homeland Security, of all of our lawyers, of
like
FBI.
The most predictable freaking route.
That's the priority. That will be discussed in October.
He should have seen that coming when he asked it. Like, if he was trying to be combative about it and trying to actually ask the question of like, well, we're concerned about people that, with the whole birthright citizenship thing, we're concerned about people that were born here. What's going to happen to them? He should have asked it like that instead of, this basically incredibly noob play.
When the Supreme Court hopefully rules in our favor, and we're very confident of that. But you should all feel safer now that President Trump can deport all of these gangs, and not one district court judge can think they're an emperor over this administration and his executive powers and why the people of the United States elected him.
Like, honestly, absolutely fucked. Like, she absolutely fucked them just now. Like, I mean, that was the soundbite. That was the line of reasoning she wanted to go to that like is like the most positive for Trump. So she fucking slayed him. What a fool.
I just might add one thing, and you know, they used birthright citizenship, some of the worst people, some of the cartels, to get people into our country, just so you know. And again, I say, if you look at the end of the Civil War, the 1800s, it was a very turbulent time. If you take the end day, was it 1869 or whatever, but you take that exact day, that's when the case was filed. And the case ended shortly thereafter. This has to do with...
I realized, by the way, why I was having so much trouble thinking. It's because I haven't been using them. I've been using scissors. I've been using scissors as a fidget tool, and they're not a good fidget tool. It's like the scissors I'm using to cut packs. I've been using this because my fidget gun and my fidget spinner were too far from me. Now they're closer.
The babies of slaves, very, very obviously, and I think we're going to win. People didn't, I don't think they went about discussing it right. I came along and we looked and we said, wait a minute, this is wrong. We've been looking at birthright citizenship wrong for years, but they've used it. The cartels have used birthright citizenship to get very bad people in, and what Pam's doing and what Todd and everybody else, what they're doing at DOJ and all over, FBI, ICE, Border Patrol, these are incredible people.
This isn't really related, but guys, like, I already miss like his little dances when he like does like the rally and then he comes out and he does a little dance. I already miss it, man. It's never gonna happen again.
Trying to keep our country safe, and they don't want to have people come in. This is just another way that they get illegal immigrants into our country, and in some cases, very, very bad ones. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your tax bill, if I could for a moment, senators are racing to rewrite parts of it right now after the Senate parliamentarian ruled that sections of it were outside of the process that they're using to get this through. Do you think that senators should respect the decisions of the parliamentarian? And
I didn't see that one. I'll dude, you know what's fucked up? The one rally I didn't watch was the one when he got shot. I was asleep after stream, and I remember like my mom like bursting into my room. Leaflit, wake up! I was like, what happened? Trump just got shot. What? And I got up out of bed. Oh my God, dude. I didn't see it live.
what have you personally done in the last 48 hours to try and get Republican senators who are against the bill to a yes?
Well, look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do, various things. We have no money for that. We have no money for the border. We have no money for so many things. But if the Democrats, it'd be interesting to see if we get any Democrat votes. We should. If I were a Democrat, I would absolutely, maybe Fetterman, because he seems to be the most sensible one.
Oh shit, you guys can hear that, huh? This is the problem with the fidget gun. Like, I like the fidget gun. It's just so loud. I'll use the spinner.
Lately. If I were a Democrat, I would vote for this bill all day long because it's tax cuts and so many other things that are common sense. They're basic things. I think they're doing fine. The parliamentarian's been a little difficult, and I would say that I disagree with the parliamentarian on some things, and on other ways he's been fine. But we'll have to see. Do
you guys want to hear my favorite fidget toy? That's my favorite one right here. I love this. The fucking ring. It's the best one.
A big issue. I will tell you this, if that bill doesn't pass, the country will get a 68% tax increase. So think of this, you're a Democrat and you vote against it. that means you're voting in favor because essentially you're
No,
voting in favor.
I'm like the type of person I have to like pace or something when I'm thinking. I have to like be moving in some way when I'm thinking.
The largest tax hike in the history of our country. And you can't do that. In addition, we're cutting costs by $1.7 trillion, and it won't affect anybody. It's just fraud, waste, and abuse.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message?
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is
Wait, what was the question?
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody.
This guy is fucking simping. Yeah, the glaze is real.
What is your message?
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is the best question I've ever been asked because I've been going through abuse for years on this. Because as you know, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars.
You're the best.
No inflation whatsoever.
But Mr. President, what is your message to critics?
You guys think you guys think he's like locked eyes right now? You think their eyes are locked, and he just loves like looking up at Trump, like having Trump like look down at him from that angle?
You think your tariff plan will cause a recession?
Thanks for the follows, you guys.
I think they should
you.
go back to business school. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I mean, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China and a lot of other countries. We took in. I had a call from somebody in the House and a high official. Sir, we have a problem. We don't know what to do. How to
cause a recession?
I think they should go back to.
What is your message to critics who think your tariff?
Oh yes. What is your opinion on those who think that we're going into a recession? My lord.
Plan will cause a recession.
I think they should go back to business school. It's so
like
obvious.
the guy, he's like the guy from Twisted, right? You remember the guy's like, behold, the orange god, the son of the sun himself. Behold, Daddy.
It's so obvious. I mean, we're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China and a lot of other countries. We took in. I had a call from somebody in the House and a high official. Sir, we have a problem. We don't know what to do. The books are a mess. I said, what do you mean by the books? The books, the money coming in. It's so terrible. I figured, oh boy, what's this? I don't like this question. I said, so what seems? There's so much money coming in, and there must be some kind of an accounting mistake because we have hundreds of billions of dollars more money than we thought. I said, do me a favor, go check call me back. You have to call me back. Check the tariff column. Calls me back 2 hours later, says, you're right. We took in $88 billion in tariffs. They have so much money coming in. But more important than the money coming in, we have companies coming in, factories coming in, auto plants being built. AI is being built here instead of being built all over Europe and Asia. We have all of it. We have over $15 trillion, just about, Scott. I think we're right about that number. We went to Saudi Arabia. We went to Qatar. We went to UAE. Very smart people, very smart leaders, great leaders. And we took in $5.1 trillion just there. Without the tariffs, I mean, they also liked a thing called November 5th, November 6th, and November 7th. That was a very good little period of time. It's called the presidential election. You know, you used to have one-day election. Now you have it go over it. But even if you just
That's
took that
true.
little
I remember, like, before, elections were literally one day. Like, the election happened, and you immediately, like, knew who was going to win. And now it's, like, it's like an entire month now, man.
Because it was pretty obvious it was going to be a landslide. And they like that, but they love the tariffs. I had Texas Instruments come in the other.
How did we get computers and, like, tallying machines, like digital? How did we have that and it's slower than counting it by hand? Like, you can't be fucking serious.
The other day, big company, and he said, we're putting in $60 billion into new plants and new equipment, new everything. Sir, you're going to keep the tariffs, aren't you? Because whoever took the tariffs off, and we are going to absolutely keep it. And they're worried that somebody that like this communist from New York someday gets elected. I can't believe that's happening. That's a terrible thing for our country, by the way. He's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York, but the rest of the country is revolting against it. But if somebody got elected, they're afraid that if this was taken off, well, we're going to guarantee it's never going to be taken off. And again, we're taking in think of this, hundreds of billions of dollars. And they were all confused because they've never seen this before. You know, it's always the other way. We don't have enough money. So much money is coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen. But most importantly, we have factories being built, car plants being built, companies moving to our country like never before. If you look at 15 trillion, and that's only in a few months. You know, I haven't been here that long. Presidents like the last one was a disaster. He's the worst president in the history of our country, by the way. What he did on our border.
By the way, he's literally the worst.
Can never be forgotten. To me, that's the worst of all the things. And he's done some terrible things. Grossly incompetent. Nobody knew it was him because I don't think it was him. I think it was whoever was controlling the auto pen. But our country is doing great. And those leaders and other leaders, I just left, as you know, a large group of the most highly respected people. And that includes big countries. When you look at Germany and France and Spain.
First, Spartan says, I just want to see you on YouTube. I think the way you think is like the average person in the U.S. Keep it up. Awesome to watch you. Thank you so much, Jaffa. Thank you.
Although Spain didn't come through, but they will. By the way, guaranteed they will. That was the only country that sort of tried to hold back on putting up the money. But just so you know, they said, it's unbelievable what's happened to the USA. You were a dead country. We didn't respect the country, the leader. You were dead as a doornail. One said to me, you went from being a dead country, you are right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. The whole world is talking about the USA, and everybody wants a part of it, and they're pouring into our country, and you're going to see those numbers. Thank you for that question.
And I'm like honestly, it kind of sucks having like that big a difference. Like the president's term is like 4 years, right? 8 if he gets like double elected. But it's like, then you just get some fucking crackhead that comes in and it's so fucked, right? Like every time that happens, it's unreal, man. It's really scary, honestly. I kind of miss when the president didn't do literally everything. You guys remember that was like an age of like American history when like the president didn't really do that much, and like now they're just like the entire thing basically.